"Please, don't leave me here," Olivia Dawson cried, tears mingling with the rain that streamed down her face. The car was dangerously tilted on the edge of the ravine, and she felt the metal groaning under the weight of gravity that threatened to pull her into the abyss. The rainy September afternoon in Harmony Creek had started so peacefully. Olivia was returning from a baking delivery in the countryside when the storm arrived without warning. The winding country roads, already precarious, became deadly traps with potholes filled with muddy water. She tried to swerve to avoid a particularly deep crater when the steering wheel slipped from her wet hands. The world spun in slow motion. The sound of metal scraping against rocks, the smell of burning rubber, the scream that escaped her throat without her realizing it. When everything finally stopped, Olivia found herself suspended over a 20-foot drop, only the rear wheels still touching the road. "Stay calm. Don't move," a deep, calm voice said behind her. Olivia slowly turned her neck and saw a tall man, caked in mud from head to toe, in simple work clothes soaked by the rain. His large, calloused hands were already testing the resistance of the driver's door. "I'll get you out of there. Trust me," he said, and there was something in his voice that made Olivia believe him immediately. With precise and careful movements, the stranger managed to open the door and firmly grasp Olivia's arm. "Now, slowly, give me your hand." Olivia felt the strength of those arms pulling her out of the vehicle just as the car plunged down the ravine, producing a crash that echoed through the valley like thunder. They stood there, breathless, in the torrential rain. Olivia trembled violently, more from shock than cold. The man took off his own shirt and placed it over her shoulders. "Are you okay? Did you hurt anything?" he asked, examining her with worried eyes that contrasted with his rugged appearance. I think I'm okay," Olivia murmured, still in shock. "If you hadn't shown up." "But I did," he said simply. "And now we need to get out of this rain." Olivia looked at the man's face for the first time. His features were weathered by the sun and toil, but his brown eyes carried an unexpected kindness. There was something about him that made her feel safe, even in the midst of that desperate situation. "What's your name?" she asked, as he led her down the soaked road. "Ryan," he replied, offering his arm to support her. "And you?" "Olivia. Olivia Dawson." They walked in silence for a few minutes until they reached an old tool shed that served as shelter. The smell of wet wood and used oil permeated the air, but it was dry and warm. Ryan lit a gas lantern and put water on to heat on an improvised stove. "Do you live here?" Olivia asked, looking around the simple but organized space. "Sometimes," he replied, stirring something that looked like coffee in a pour-over maker. "When work brings me to this area." Olivia instinctively brought her hand to her neck, touching the heirloom necklace she always wore, a delicate silver piece with a small heart-shaped charm inherited from her mother. The automatic gesture comforted her in moments of tension. Ryan noticed the movement and smiled discreetly. "My grandmother used to say that some symbols carry the protection of those who love us," he commented, handing her a steaming mug of coffee. Something in Olivia's chest warmed, and it wasn't just the hot drink. There was an inexplicable connection being born there, in that improvised shed, between two people who hadn't even known each other an hour before. But as she watched Ryan move around the space with familiarity, a small doubt began to form in her mind. There was something about him that didn't quite fit that rustic environment. If you're enjoying this story, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and comment where you're watching from. This helps a lot to keep bringing stories like this to you. The next morning arrived with a timid sun filtering through the cracks in the shed. Olivia woke up on the small couch where she had fallen asleep, covered by a wool blanket that smelled of lavender. Ryan was already awake, tinkering with something that looked like an engine near the entrance. "Good morning," he said, wiping his hands on a rag. "How do you feel?" Olivia stretched, feeling the aches of the accident throughout her body, but mostly a strange sense of peace she hadn't experienced in a long time. "Better, thank you. And my car?" Ryan grimaced. "Let's just say it decided to be totaled all at once, but don't worry. I have a pickup truck that can take you back to town." Olivia felt a tightness in her chest. That car represented years of saving, of hard work in her small bakery in the historic downtown of Harmony Creek. It was more than a means of transport. It was her independence. "Hey," Ryan said, noticing her expression. "Everything will be all right. Sometimes life forces us to start over, but that doesn't mean it's the end. She looked at him, intrigued by the wisdom in his words. You speak like someone who's been through it. We all have, haven't we? He replied, pouring fresh coffee. Tell me about yourself. What do you do when you're not almost plummeting down ravines? Olivia laughed for the first time since the accident. I bake cakes. I have a small bakery, but it's mine. I inherited my mother's recipes. She must be proud. Olivia's smile faded. She died when I was 16. It was complicated. Ryan moved closer and sat beside her on the improvised couch. I'm sorry. Do you want to talk about it? For some reason she couldn't explain, Olivia felt comfortable opening her heart to this stranger. My mother had a small homemade sweets business. It was doing well until she partnered with a man named Martin Forrester. He seemed honest, promised to help her grow. Olivia's voice turned bitter. In fact, he stole everything. The recipes, the customers, even our house was mortgaged in fraudulent dealings. My mother couldn't bear the heartbreak and stress. Ryan listened in silence, his eyes showing genuine empathy. That's why I'm terrified of rich, powerful people. I learned that they only get close when they want something. Olivia continued, touching the necklace at her neck again. This was hers. It's all I have left. Besides the recipes I managed to save. May I see it? Ryan asked respectfully. Olivia hesitated for a moment, then took off the necklace and handed it to him. Ryan held the charm with reverent delicacy, as if he understood its sentimental value. It's beautiful, and it has a special energy, he said, returning the jewelry. Your mother chose the symbol well. Hearts hold our truest loves even when they're no longer physically with us. There was something in the way he spoke that deeply touched Olivia. And you? Do you have family? Ryan's expression closed off slightly. It's complicated. Sometimes families have expectations that don't align with who we truly are. Before Olivia could ask more, he stood up. How about a real breakfast? I bet you make a better cake than any I've ever tasted. Here? With what ingredients? Ryan opened a small cupboard, and to Olivia's surprise, it was well stocked. I always keep the basics. You never know when we'll have special guests. Olivia smiled and went to the improvised kitchen. As she mixed the ingredients for a simple apple crumb cake, she felt Ryan's eyes following her movements. There was a strange intimacy in that domestic scene, as if they had known each other for years. Done, she said, placing the cake in the wood-fired oven. Now we wait. Ryan tasted the raw batter on his finger and closed his eyes. Incredible. You truly have a gift. They spent the morning talking about everything and nothing. Ryan spoke about plants, about the land, about the cycles of nature with a knowledge that impressed her. Olivia shared stories from the bakery, about beloved customers, about the challenges of maintaining her own business. When the cake was finally ready and they tasted it together, Ryan closed his eyes again. This is the best cake I've ever eaten, he said. And Olivia realized it wasn't just courtesy. But as she observed the ease with which he moved in that environment, the organized tools, the unexpected quality of the utensils, a question kept pounding in her head. Who was Ryan really? Over the next 3 days, Ryan showed up at Olivia's bakery every morning, always with a different excuse. On the first day, he brought dry firewood for the fireplace that warmed the room. On the second, he carried sacks of sugar she had ordered. On the third, he simply appeared with a shy smile and asked if she needed help. Don't you have work to do? Olivia asked, torn between the joy of seeing him and the worry of disrupting his routine. I have my own schedule, he replied, rolling up his sleeves to help organize the shelves. And I like being here. Granny Mae's Sweets was located on one of the charming cobblestone streets of the historic district, with stone walls and colonial windows that framed the view of the old town chapel. The space was small but cozy, with rustic wooden tables and the constant aroma of cinnamon and vanilla floating in the air. Olivia watched Ryan work and noticed details that intrigued her more and more. His hands, though calloused, moved with delicate precision as he arranged the pastries in the display case. When she mentioned needing to change a high light bulb, he climbed the ladder with a familiarity that suggested he was used to leading, not just following orders. You learn fast, she commented, seeing him master the espresso machine in a few minutes. I've always been observant, he said, preparing a perfect coffee. And you're a good teacher. Sharon, Olivia's best friend and the bakery's only employee, didn't hide her curiosity. She was a woman in her 50s, with graying hair always pulled back in a bun, and the wisdom of someone who had seen a lot of life. "Girl, that man is smitten," she whispered to Olivia while Ryan fixed a broken chair in the backyard. "And so are you just don't want to admit it." "Sharon, I barely know him," Olivia protested, but her flushed face betrayed her. "Yes, you do. Sometimes a soul recognizes another soul in seconds. I've seen it before." Olivia couldn't deny that she felt something special for Ryan. He had a gift for making the simplest moments feel important. When she was stressed with a complicated order, he would show up with wildflowers. When she complained about back pain after a long day, he offered his strong hands for a respectful shoulder massage. "My grandmother used to make chamomile tea for aches," he said one afternoon, preparing the drink while Olivia rested. "She said plants hold healing secrets that modern medicines have forgotten." "Your grandmother seems to have been wise," Olivia said, accepting the warm cup. "She was. She raised me after my parents, after things got complicated at home." Olivia noticed that Ryan always deflected when the topic got close to his family. There was a sadness in his eyes that he tried to hide behind gentle smiles. "Do you want to talk about it?" she offered. "Maybe someday," he replied, briefly caressing her hand. "Today I prefer to hear more about you. Tell me how you started with baking." Olivia lost herself in childhood memories of afternoons in the kitchen with her mother, learning secrets passed down through generations. Ryan listened to every word with full attention, as if he were memorizing every detail. When it was time for him to leave, as he always did in the late afternoon, Olivia felt the familiar emptiness in her chest. "Ryan," she called out as he was already at the door. "Thank you for everything, for saving me, for helping here, for being here when you need me," he completed, approaching again. "Yes, it's been a long time since anyone cared for me like this." Ryan hesitated for a moment, then gently held Olivia's face between his hands. "You deserve to be cared for, Olivia. Never forget that." He leaned in and delicately kissed her forehead, a gesture so tender it brought tears to her eyes. After he left, Olivia stood at the door, watching his figure disappear down the cobblestone street. Sharon approached and put her arm around her shoulders. "That man is hiding something, my dear," her friend said softly. "I just hope it's something good." Olivia touched the necklace at her neck, feeling the warm metal against her skin. There was something about Ryan that didn't quite fit, but her heart insisted on trusting him. Was she making the same mistake as her mother? "Olivia, you need to know something," Sharon said on a Thursday morning, as they prepared the day's pastries. Her voice carried a worry that made Olivia stop beating the carrot cake batter. "What is it? Did something happen with Ryan?" "Not exactly." Sharon dried her hands on her apron and approached. "Yesterday, when I went to the bank to pay bills, I overheard a strange conversation. Two women talking about you and some Alistair heir." Olivia's heart pounded. "Alistair?" "Yes. They were saying you were getting involved with people of status and that it wouldn't work out. One of them mentioned that the guy was disguising himself as a manual laborer to win you over." Olivia felt the ground give way beneath her feet. Alistair. That name had echoed through Harmony Creek's high society conversations for decades. The Alistairs were landowners, influential, rich, exactly the kind of people she had learned to fear. "It can't be," she murmured. But the puzzle pieces began to fit together. The well-kept hands, despite the hard work, the cultured way of speaking, the knowledge of things a common rural worker wouldn't know. "My dear, it might just be gossip," Sharon said, seeing Olivia's paleness. "You know how people like to invent stories." But Olivia could no longer concentrate. She spent the rest of the morning distracted, burning 2 cakes and spilling sugar on the floor. When Ryan appeared at lunchtime, as had become customary, she could barely look him in the eyes. "Are you okay?" he asked, immediately noticing her change in mood. "I'm just tired," she lied. Ryan watched her for a long moment, then approached and gently touched her arm. "Olivia, if something is bothering you, you can tell me. I promise we'll solve it together." The sincerity in his voice almost made her break down. She wanted so much to believe him, to trust him as she had in recent days. But her mother's words, spoken so many years ago, echoed in her mind. Be careful of the powerful, my dear. They play with other people's feelings as if they were toys. I need some time to think, she said, avoiding his gaze. Ryan seemed confused but respected her space. All right, I'll be here when you want to talk. After he left, Olivia made a decision. She needed to find out the truth for herself. She asked Sharon to take care of the bakery and went to the town hall where Sarah, an old school friend who always knew everything and everyone in town, worked. Sarah, I need a favor, Olivia said, finding her friend at lunchtime. Of course, dear. What do you need? I want to know about the Alistair family, specifically about Orion. Sarah's face lit up with curiosity. Ryan Alistair? Colonel Edward's youngest son? Girl, he's what the whole town is talking about. Olivia's heart sank. What are they saying? That he's been walking around the countryside in disguise, pretending to be a manual laborer. They say he's investigating his own lands to catch dishonest employees. Sarah leaned in, whispering. But some people are saying it's because of a woman, that he fell in love and is trying to win her over without using his family's name. Olivia felt nauseous. And who would this woman be? No one knows for sure, but Sarah hesitated. Olivia, don't tell me it's you. Olivia couldn't answer. The tears she had held back all morning finally welled up. My God, it is you, Sarah exclaimed. Olivia, the Alistairs are one of the wealthiest families in the region. Ryan has farms, businesses, a business degree from New York City. Why would he do that? Because he's just like all the others, Olivia said between sobs. Plays with people, lies to get what he wants. But even as she said it, a part of her heart refused to believe. She remembered Ryan's genuine kindness, the way he looked at her, how his hands trembled when he held her mother's necklace. Olivia, listen, Sarah said, holding her hands. There might be an explanation. The Alistairs are known for being good people, different from the Forresters, for example. Hearing the name Forrester, Olivia trembled. Is Martin Forrester still in town? Unfortunately, yes, and worse. He's been bragging around that he's going to expand his business. They say he's eyeing properties in the historic district to turn into a boutique hotel. Olivia brought her hand to her necklace, clutching the charm. Everything was falling apart. The man she had fallen in love with was deceiving her, and the ghost that destroyed her family was coming back to haunt her again. When she got back to the bakery, she found a bouquet of wildflowers at the door with a note. To brighten your day. With affection, R. Olivia picked up the flowers and, for the first time, felt no joy. She felt betrayal. Could it be that everything was just a cruel charade? A week after discovering Ryan's identity, Olivia received an unexpected invitation that made her question her suspicions even more. It was for the Harmony Creek Annual Charity Gala, the most lavish event of the local elite. Why would I get this? She asked Sharon, holding the gold card with embossed lettering. Maybe someone wants to see you there, her friend replied, but her expression was worried. Olivia, you don't have to go. During those 7 days, Ryan had appeared at the bakery every day, but Olivia treated him with a courteous coolness that left him visibly confused. She accepted his help, thanked him politely, but no longer smiled with the same spontaneity as before. Olivia, what did I do wrong? He asked the day before the party, the pain evident in his voice. You've been different with me since last week. She almost gave in when she saw the genuine sadness in his brown eyes. Almost. But then she remembered Sarah's words, the malicious comments that were starting to circulate around town, and hardened her heart. You didn't do anything, Ryan. It's just that I think it's better if we keep our distance. Distance, why? Olivia took a deep breath. It was time to confront him. Because I know who you really are, Ryan Alistair. His face instantly paled. For a long moment, they stood looking at each other in silence in the small bakery space. Olivia, I can explain. You don't need to. She cut him off, her voice trembling with contained emotion. I understand perfectly. The bored rich man who enjoys playing at being poor to win over the naive baker. That's it, isn't it? No, he exclaimed, taking a step forward. It's nothing like that. I never... Then why did you lie? Why did you pretend to be someone else? Ryan ran his hands through his hair, clearly conflicted. Because when I met you, you talked about your mother, about how she was betrayed by wealthy people. I saw the fear in your eyes when you mentioned people like me. I didn't want you to judge me before you truly knew me. Truly know me? Olivia repeated, a bitter laugh escaping her lips. But who is the real Ryan? The simple, kind worker, or the millionaire heir who plays at being someone else? Both, he replied in desperation. I'm both. Money doesn't change who I am inside. Olivia shook her head. You don't understand, do you? It's not just about the money. It's about the lie, the charade. Exactly like Martin did to my mother. The mention of Martin's name made Ryan stiffen. I'm not like him. No? Then why are you here, pretending to be someone you're not? Exactly when he's back in town. Coincidence? Ryan fell silent, and that silence was the confirmation Olivia needed. Leave, Ryan, and don't come back. On the night of the gala, against all of Sharon's advice, Olivia decided to go. She put on her only formal dress, a simple but elegant navy blue design, and her mother's necklace over the modest neckline. The country club was stunning, decorated with white flowers and golden lights. Harmony Creek's elite circulated in their formal attire, and Olivia immediately felt out of place. That's when she saw him. Ryan was across the ballroom, impeccable in a black tuxedo, talking with a group of clearly important people. He seemed completely at ease in that environment, as if he had been born for it. And maybe he had. When their gazes met, Olivia saw surprise and something that looked like panic in his eyes. Ryan excused himself from the group and started walking towards her. But before he reached her, a stunning woman with blonde hair and a red dress approached Olivia. You must be the famous baker, the woman said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. I'm Brooke Graham. I'm sure you've heard of me. Olivia hadn't, but she nodded politely. It's a shame Ryan didn't tell you about our history, Brooke continued, watching Ryan approach. But don't worry, dear. We all know this is just a phase for him. The Allisters always return to where they belong. When Ryan finally reached them, his expression was cold and distant, completely different from the affectionate man Olivia had known. Good evening, Olivia, he said formally, as if they were just casual acquaintances. The coldness in his voice was like a stab to Olivia's heart. There was the confirmation of everything she feared. In front of his world, she was nothing more than a stranger. Brooke smiled triumphantly and possessively intertwined her arm with Ryan's. Olivia murmured an excuse and fled to the restroom, where she finally allowed the tears to fall. How could she have been so naive again? The following Monday after the gala, Olivia discovered the true destructive power of social media in a small town. Olivia, you need to see this, Sharon said with her phone in hand, her face tense with worry. On the screen, a video already had over 3,000 views. It showed the exact moment Ryan had treated her coldly at the party, followed by her embarrassing retreat to the restroom. The audio even captured Brooke's malicious comment. Poor dear thought she could snag an Allister. Who filmed this? Olivia asked, feeling her stomach churn. It doesn't matter who filmed it. Look at the comments. Olivia scrolled through the screen and felt her heart sink. Hundreds of cruel comments. She thought she'd get lucky like the Cinderellas in movies. Baker trying to climb the social ladder at others' expense. Ryan was too polite. I would have told her to go back to the kitchen. Simple folk need to know their place. Brooke Graham shared it in all the town groups, Sharon continued. And there's more. Someone spread rumors that you're trying to blackmail the Allister family, saying you have proof of a relationship. Olivia leaned on the bakery counter, feeling her legs weaken. This can't be happening. There's more, my dear. Martin Forrester gave an interview to the local radio this morning. He said that some people don't learn from past mistakes, and that greed blinds those without character. The indirect reference to her mother was like salt in the wound. Olivia felt a dull anger growing in her chest. Throughout the morning, foot traffic at the bakery was practically non-existent. The few people who came in were more to satisfy curiosity than to buy sweets. Olivia heard the whispers, felt the judgmental stares. Around noon, the situation worsened. Carl, the manager of the bank where she held the business account, appeared with an embarrassed expression. Olivia, I need to talk to you about the renovation loan, he said, avoiding looking directly into her eyes. What about the loan? Everything's up to date. Yes, but some questions have arisen about the collateral. The board wants to reevaluate. Olivia understood immediately. Questions or political pressure? Carl lowered his eyes. You know how things are in a small town. Image is important for business. And my image is tainted, is that it? "Those aren't my words," he said, but the tone already confirmed everything. After Carl left, Olivia locked herself in the kitchen and cried like she hadn't since her mother's death. Sharon respected her moment, taking care of the few customers who appeared by herself. In the late afternoon, when she was already considering closing early, the door chimes rang. Olivia lifted her red, tear-filled eyes and saw Ryan standing at the entrance. He seemed to have slept poorly, his hair disheveled, an unshaven beard that gave him a dejected look. "I came as soon as I heard," he said before she could say anything. "Apologize?" Olivia repeated, her voice laden with bitterness. "For which part? For lying about who you were, or for humiliating me in front of the whole town?" "For everything," he replied, approaching slowly. "Olivia, you don't understand what happened at that gala. I understand perfectly. You showed your true colors when you were in your natural environment." "No," he exclaimed, banging his hand on the counter. "I was trying to protect you." "Protect me?" Olivia laughed bitterly. "By treating me like a stranger? By leaving me alone to be humiliated by your ex-fiancé?" "Brooke isn't my ex-fiancé. It's a family expectation I've resisted for years. And yet you let her humiliate me." Ryan ran his hands over his face. "If I had shown closeness with you at that gala, they would have attacked you even worse. Martin was there, you see. He was waiting for any excuse to hurt you." "Martin?" Olivia felt her blood run cold. "He has an interest in a property here in the historic district. When he found out that we were close, he saw the perfect opportunity for revenge." "How do you know this?" "Because he approached me. He offered a deal. He would stop harassing you if I publicly distanced myself from you." Olivia stared at him, trying to process the information. "And you accepted?" "I thought I was protecting you," Ryan said, his voice broken. "I thought if I pulled away you'd be in peace." "And were you?" Ryan looked around the empty bakery, the cruel comments still echoing in the air. "Obviously not." Olivia touched the necklace at her neck, clutching the charm tightly. "You still don't understand, Ryan. The problem isn't just Martin or Brooke. The problem is that you made a decision about my life without consulting me. Exactly like powerful men always do." "Olivia." "No. Enough." She walked to the door and opened it. "You made your choice at that gala. Now I'm making mine. I want you to leave and not come back." Ryan hesitated at the door, as if he wanted to say something more, but he saw the determination in Olivia's eyes and simply left. As soon as he was gone, Olivia locked the door, turned the sign to closed, and made a decision she had been avoiding for days. It was time to leave Harmony Creek. "Have you completely lost your mind?" Sharon exclaimed when Olivia announced her intention to sell the bakery and leave Harmony Creek. "This shop is all you have. It's your mother's dream." "My mother's dream died with her," Olivia replied, putting a "for sale" sign in the window. "And I'm not going to stay here to be humiliated every day." It was Thursday morning, 3 days after her last conversation with Ryan. Business at the bakery continued to be practically non-existent, and Olivia had spent sleepless nights, listening to the echo of malicious comments and reliving every moment of humiliation. "My dear, this gossip will pass. People forget. Just give it time." "They won't forget, Sharon. And even if they did, I won't forget. I can no longer look at this town the same way." Sharon approached and held Olivia's hands. "And where will you go? What will you do?" "I don't know yet. Maybe Charlotte or Miami. A place where no one knows me, where I can start over without carrying the weight of the past." "And me? Will I be unemployed at 50? Olivia felt a pang in her heart. She hadn't thought about Sharon, who had worked with her for 4 years and had become more than an employee. She was a second mother. "You can come with me," Olivia offered, but both knew it wasn't that simple. Sharon had family, roots, a whole life built in Harmony Creek. The bakery phone rang, interrupting the emotional conversation. Sharon answered with her usual professional tone. "Granny Mae's Sweets, good morning. How? Are you sure?" Sharon's face progressively lit up. Yes, she's here. One moment, please." "Who is it?" Olivia asked, suspicious. "It's from Channel 7 News in Charlotte. They want to talk to you about a contest." Olivia frowned. "What contest?" Sharon handed her the phone, curious. Olivia answered, still confused. "Hello?" "Hi, Olivia. This is Megan Spencer from the morning show's production. We've been trying to reach you for days, but your cell phone was off. Sorry, Why are you looking for me? About the America's Kitchen Challenge contest, remember? You submitted a recipe 3 months ago. Olivia vaguely remembered. On a particularly boring afternoon, she had seen the contest online and submitted her special recipe for apple crumb cake, more as a joke than with any real hope. Yes, I remember, but… Olivia, you won! Your recipe was chosen from over 10,000 entries. You are the grand winner of the national contest. The phone almost slipped from Olivia's hands. What do you mean I won? First place. The prize includes $50,000, a professional baking course in New York City, and the recipe will be published in the show's official cookbook. Plus, we want to do a featured segment about you next week. Olivia looked at Sharon, who was watching anxiously, and then at the for sale sign in the window. I need to think. Think? Dear, this is a unique opportunity. We'll schedule the filming for next Monday. The crew will come to Harmony Creek. After finalizing the details and hanging up the phone, Olivia stood in the middle of the bakery, processing what had happened. So? Sharon asked, barely containing her anticipation. I won a national contest, $50,000 in a TV feature. My goodness, Sharon cried, hugging Olivia tightly. You see? It's a sign. You can't leave now. But Olivia was still in shock. After days of humiliation and cruel comments, the recognition seemed surreal. Sharon, what if it's just another way to expose me? What if they use this to humiliate me even more? Or, Sharon said, holding her friend's face, it could be a chance to show all these small-minded people who you truly are. To prove that your talent has nothing to do with social status. Olivia walked to the window and touched the for sale sign. For a moment, she could see beyond the pain and anger. She could remember why she opened that bakery, why she chose to continue her mother's legacy. You know what's most ironic? She said, a bitter laugh escaping her lips. The winning recipe was the same one I made for Ryan that first day in the shed. Then maybe it really does have something special, Sharon said wisely. Maybe it was made with an ingredient you didn't even realize at the time. What ingredient? Love, my dear. You made that cake for a man you were falling in love with. That changes everything. Olivia touched the necklace at her neck, feeling the warm metal against her skin. For the first time in days, she allowed herself to think of Ryan without anger. She remembered how he had held the charm with reverence, how he said symbols hold invisible strengths. Could it be that in some mysterious way, that moment of genuine connection had transformed into something greater? Sharon, take that sign out of the window, Olivia said, making a decision. I won't run. I'll stay and show what I'm capable of. But even as she decided to stay, a question kept pounding in her head. Would Ryan be happy about her success, or would it just prove to him that she never needed him for anything? News of Olivia's national contest victory spread through town faster than the malicious gossip of the previous week. On Monday morning, the TV network crew arrived in Harmony Creek with cameras, equipment, and a contagious energy that completely transformed the atmosphere of the small bakery. Olivia, could you tell us how you developed this special recipe? Megan Spencer, the host, asked, while the cameras captured every movement of the baker preparing her famous cake. Actually, Olivia said, mixing the ingredients with the same delicacy as always, this recipe carries 3 generations of love. It started with my grandmother, was perfected by my mother, and I just added my personal touch. And what is that personal touch? Olivia hesitated for a moment, unconsciously touching the necklace at her neck. I think it's the story each cake tells. This recipe was born in a very special moment in my life, when I met someone who reminded me why I love what I do. She didn't mention Ryan directly, but Sharon, watching from the wings, smiled, knowing every nuance of that answer. And how does it feel to be nationally recognized for something that started so humbly here in Harmony Creek? I feel honored, Olivia replied, placing the cake in the oven. But mostly I feel grateful to be able to show that talent and dedication don't depend on where you come from or how much money you have in the bank. They depend on the heart you put into what you do. Throughout the entire filming, which lasted almost 4 hours, a crowd gathered outside the bakery. Many of the same people who had spread cruel gossip the previous week were now vying for a spot in front of the cameras, wanting to appear as proud neighbors of the new local celebrity. Look how quickly people change their minds, Sharon murmured to Olivia during a break in filming. They haven't changed their minds, Olivia replied, observing the crowd through the window. They just changed sides because it's convenient now. When the segment aired on Wednesday, the impact was immediate and surprising. The bakery phone didn't stop ringing with interview requests, orders from all over the country, and even proposals to open franchises. Olivia, there's a renowned chef from New York City wanting to buy your recipe, Sharon announced, covering the phone with her hand. It's not for sale, Olivia replied without hesitation. He offered $100,000. Sharon, some things are priceless. This recipe is part of my family's history. But the most impressive thing was when letters and messages began to arrive from ordinary people all over the United States, telling their own stories of overcoming and thanking Olivia for proving that dreams can come true, regardless of circumstances. One letter in particular deeply touched her heart. It was from a young woman from Charleston, SC, who wrote, Olivia, my mother was also cheated by wealthy people when I was a child. We lost everything and she died sad, thinking she had failed me. Your story gave me hope that I can honor her memory by building something beautiful with my own hands. Thank you for showing me it's possible. Olivia carefully folded the letter and put it in a special box along with her mother's necklace. You know, Sharon, she said that night as they organized the bakery after an extraordinarily busy day, I think I finally understand what my mother wanted to teach me. What? That our strength doesn't come from who loves us or accepts us. It comes from who we are when no one is watching, when we face storms alone and still choose to be kind. Sharon smiled, but noticed a melancholy in her friend's eyes. You still think about him, don't you? Olivia didn't need to ask who she was talking about. Every day, but not in the way you imagine. What do you mean? I wonder if he was happy about my success or if it just confirmed for him that I never needed his protection. Olivia sighed. Sometimes I wonder if he truly loved me or if I was just a charity project to soothe his class guilt. What if you asked him directly? I can't. Not after everything that happened. That night, alone in her small apartment above the bakery, Olivia looked at herself in the mirror and saw a different woman from the one who had almost plummeted down the ravine weeks ago. There was a new strength in her eyes, a confidence born not of others' approval but of the recognition of her own worth. She touched her mother's necklace one last time before sleeping and whispered, We did it, Mom. We proved them wrong about us. But even amidst all the celebration and recognition, a part of her heart still held the memory of that first cake shared in an improvised shed, when two lonely hearts had found in each other a connection that seemed to have been made by the very hands of destiny. Were some wounds too deep to be healed, even by the sweetest of successes? A week after the TV segment aired, Olivia was organizing orders that were arriving from all over the country when an elderly man, with gray hair and simple clothes, entered the bakery. She recognized him immediately. It was Arthur, the longtime farm manager who had worked for Ryan's family for over 30 years. Mr. Arthur, what a surprise, Olivia said, genuinely happy to see him. How are you? Fine, dear. I came here because I need to talk to you about something important. The serious tone of his voice made Olivia stop what she was doing. Did something happen? It's about the boss. About Ryan. Olivia felt her heart pound, but tried to maintain her composure. Mr. Arthur, I've already said I don't want to know anymore. My dear, let me speak first. Then you decide if you want to listen or not. Sharon, noticing the tension, discreetly moved away to give them privacy. You know I've worked for the Allister family for over 30 years. Arthur began, sitting in one of the chairs near the counter. I watched that boy grow up. I saw him become a good man, even with all the family pressure. Mr. Arthur, let me finish, please. Ryan was never like the rest of the family. He was always different, always cared more about the people who worked for them than about business. And when he met you, dear, I never saw the boy so happy. Olivia felt a pang in her chest but remained silent. That night of the gala, he came home completely desperate. He said he had made the worst mistake of his life, that he hurt you trying to protect you. Protect me from what exactly? From Martin Forrester. That man hasn't forgotten what your mother represented to him, the only person who uncovered his schemes and had the courage to report him. When he found out you were involved with an Allister, he saw the perfect opportunity for revenge. Olivia frowned. My mother never told me she had reported Martin, because she protected you to the end. But I was there when she handed over the evidence to the sheriff's office. That's why he harassed her until he destroyed her life. Olivia's legs gave out, and she leaned on the counter. What do you mean? Martin not only stole her money, dear. He framed her to be accused of tax evasion, spread rumors that she was failing because she stole from customers. Your mother died believing she had failed, but in reality, she was morally assassinated by a cruel man. Tears began to stream down Olivia's face. Sharon, who was listening from the kitchen, approached and put a hand on her friend's shoulder. And what does that have to do with Ryan? Olivia asked between sobs. Ryan discovered the whole truth investigating on his own. When Martin approached him with the proposal to leave you in peace if he publicly distanced himself, Ryan accepted because he thought it was the only way to protect you from the revenge that man had been planning for years. What revenge? Martin wanted to buy your bakery for a pittance, demolish everything, and build a hotel in its place. When he saw you wouldn't sell voluntarily, he decided to destroy your reputation to force you out. Olivia remembered the difficulties at the bank, the malicious comments, the orchestrated way everything had happened. But why didn't Ryan tell me this? Because he knew you wouldn't accept being protected. He knew your pride, your independence. So he decided to sacrifice his own heart to keep you safe. And did it work? Olivia asked bitterly. Until you won that contest. Now Martin can't touch you anymore. You've become untouchable, dear. A respected public figure. Arthur stood up, as if his message was delivered. Mr. Arthur, wait. And Ryan? How is he? The old manager smiled sadly. Devastated. He spent the last 2 weeks trying to find a way to reverse the damage he did. He even thought about selling part of his lands to compensate for the losses you suffered because of Martin's harassment. He would do that? He already did, dear. He sold the farm he loved most, the one where his grandmother lived, to ensure you had resources if you truly decided to leave town. Olivia brought her hand to her necklace, clutching the charm as she always did in moments of strong emotion. The money is in an account in your name at the bank, Arthur continued. He didn't want you to know where it came from, but I thought you had a right to know the truth. Why are you telling me this now? Because that young man has been suffering in silence for weeks, and so have you. And because people who truly love each other don't deserve to be separated by misunderstandings and pride. After Arthur left, Olivia remained silent for a long time, processing everything she had heard. And now? Sharon asked softly. Now I need to decide if I still believe in love or if the pain was too great to be forgiven, Olivia replied, looking out the window toward the mountains where, somewhere, Ryan was carrying the weight of his own decisions. Her mother's necklace felt like it was burning against her skin, as if it were trying to tell her something her mind wasn't yet ready to hear. 2 weeks after her conversation with Arthur, Olivia had made a decision that would change her life forever. She would open a new, larger bakery in the heart of the historic district, taking advantage of the national recognition to expand her business. The chosen location was an old colonial house that had been restored, with an internal garden and a view of the Blue Ridge Mountains. It's going to be beautiful, Olivia, Sharon exclaimed, observing the plans spread across the table of the old bakery. Your mother would be proud to see how far you've come. The grand opening was scheduled for the following Saturday, and the whole town was talking about the event. Olivia had decided it would be more than a simple opening. It would be a celebration of overcoming, of female strength, and a tribute to her mother's memory. But on the Thursday before the grand opening, the nightmare began again. Olivia arrived at the new bakery early in the morning to supervise the final preparations, and found a man in a dark suit leaving the building. He greeted her politely, but there was something in his eyes that made her uncomfortable. "Excuse me," she said. "May I know who you are and what you were doing here?" "I'm from the district attorney's office," he replied, showing identification. "We've received some complaints about irregularities in your establishment." "What kind of irregularities?" "Issues related to documentation, health permits, possible tax evasion." He handed her an envelope. "Everything is detailed here. Unfortunately, we'll need to postpone the grand opening until everything is clarified." Olivia felt her world collapse. With trembling hands, she opened the envelope and read absurd accusations. Use of expired ingredients, lack of mandatory certifications, irregularities in commercial registration. "But that's a lie. I have all my documents in order." "I'm sure it's just a misunderstanding, ma'am, but we need to follow protocol." After the official left, Olivia desperately called Sharon. who arrived in 15 minutes. "This has Martin's fingerprints all over it," Sharon said after reading the accusations. "These are the exact same tactics he used against your mother. But Arthur said he couldn't touch me anymore. Apparently he can, and he chose the worst possible moment." During the day, the situation worsened. A local blogger published a malicious post insinuating that Olivia had used political influence to get the licenses for the new bakery. On social media, fake profiles spread rumors that she was involved in corruption schemes. The cruelest was when Brooke Graham shared an ironic post. "I wonder if our national celebrity will be able to explain these accusations as well as she explained her recipes on TV." In the afternoon, 3 suppliers called, canceling contracts, citing concerns about the company's reputation. The florist who was to do the grand opening decorations also backed out. Olivia was sitting alone in the empty new bakery, surrounded by boxes of utensils and ingredients that might never be used, when she heard footsteps at the entrance. It was Ryan. He looked thinner, more dejected, but his eyes held the same kindness she had learned to love and then to fear. "I came as soon as I heard," he said, keeping a respectful distance. "Can I help?" "How did you know?" "Arthur told me. And I was expecting something like this to happen." "You knew Martin was going to attack me again?" Ryan approached slowly. "I suspected it. That's why I sold the farm, to have resources to help you when he attacked again." "And why didn't you warn me?" "Because you made it clear you didn't want to see me anymore," he replied, pain evident in his voice. "And because I knew you wouldn't accept my help even knowing the danger." Olivia watched him in silence. He was right. She wouldn't have accepted. "What do you propose?" she asked finally. "Let me hire the best lawyers in the region. I'll prove that all these accusations are false and that they came from an interested source." "And in return?" Ryan looked at her with surprise. "In return for nothing, Olivia. I love you, and I want you to be happy, regardless of where I am in your life." For the first time in weeks, Olivia felt tears well up, not from anger or frustration, but from a more complex emotion she couldn't name. "Ryan, You don't have to say anything now," he interrupted. "Just let me help, as I should have from the beginning. Being honest, being your partner, not your secret protector." Olivia touched her mother's necklace, and for the first time since the accident, the charm didn't seem to burn against her skin. It seemed, on the contrary, to radiate a warm peace. "All right," she said softly, "but this time we do it together, as true partners." The smile that lit up Ryan's face was like the sunrise after the longest of storms. But as they planned their defense against Martin's attacks, neither of them imagined that the real battle was just beginning. Working side by side over the next 3 days, Olivia and Ryan discovered that together they were a much more powerful force than either of them alone. Ryan brought in the best lawyers from Charlotte, while Olivia mobilized everyone she had touched with her story of overcoming. "Look at this," Sharon said, entering the bakery with her laptop in hand. "People are organizing to defend you on social media. There's even a hashtag, #Justice for Olivia." On the screen, hundreds of supportive comments from people across the United States who had identified with Olivia's journey. Famous chefs, homemakers, entrepreneurs, all sharing their own stories of harassment and triumph. "And there's more," Sharon continued. "Megan, from the TV network, wants to do a special segment on cases of harassment against small business owners. She said your story could help other people going through the same situation." Ryan, who was reviewing documents at a nearby table, looked up. "This is perfect. The more exposure, the harder it is for Martin to act in the shadows." Olivia watched the man she had learned to love, then to resent, and was now rediscovering. In recent days, she had seen a side of him she didn't know. His leadership skills, his network of contacts used for good. His determination to protect not only her, but all the small business owners in town who faced similar pressures. "I discovered something interesting," Ryan said, showing some papers. "Martin isn't acting alone. There's an outside investment firm funding the harassment of small businesses in the historic district. The goal is to devalue properties to buy everything cheap and turn it into a hotel complex. How many people is he hurting? At least 15 families I've identified. Old man Joe from the shoe repair, Ms. Betty from the flower shop, John from the diner, all facing pressure to sell." Olivia felt renewed anger, but different from before. It was no longer a destructive, inward-directed anger. It was an anger that moved, that motivated the fight. So it's not just about me. It was never just about you, Ryan confirmed. You just became the symbol of resistance he feared most. That afternoon, something happened that completely changed the course of the situation. Ms. Betty, the elderly florist who had canceled her contract, appeared at the bakery with tears in her eyes. "Olivia, my dear, forgive me," she said, holding the baker's hands. "That man threatened me. He said if I did the flowers for your grand opening, he'd invent problems for me too. Ms. Betty, you don't need to apologize." "Yes, I do. And I want to do more than that." The elderly woman straightened up, showing surprising determination. "I want to tell everything I know about his threats. And I want all the flowers for your grand opening to be on me, as an apology." Over the next 2 days, something extraordinary happened. One by one, the suppliers who had canceled reversed their decision, apologizing and offering their services for free. More than that, other business owners began seeking out Olivia and Ryan with their own stories of intimidation. "It seems we've woken a sleeping giant," Ryan said one night as they organized the testimonies they had collected. "Or maybe people were just waiting for someone to take the first step," Olivia replied. "Sometimes courage is contagious." They were working late when Olivia realized how the dynamic between them had changed. There was no longer distrust or resentment. There was partnership, mutual respect, and something deeper that she wasn't yet ready to name. "Ryan," she said softly, "why did you really sell your grandmother's farm?" He stopped what he was doing and looked her directly in the eyes. "Because that's where I learned what unconditional love means. And when I realized I felt that for you, I knew any sacrifice would be worth it to protect you, even knowing I might never forgive you. Even so, true love expects nothing in return, Olivia. It just wants to see the beloved person happy and safe." Olivia touched her mother's necklace, and this time, besides peace, she felt something she hadn't experienced in a long time. Hope. What if we managed to reverse all this? What if we defeat Martin and I manage to open the bakery? "When we succeed," Ryan corrected with a smile. "And when that happens, I'll be here applauding, regardless of my place in your life." That night, Olivia slept better than she had in weeks. For the first time since the accident, she felt she wasn't fighting the world alone. But Martin Forrester still had one last card up his sleeve that neither of them had anticipated. On the eve of the grand opening, which had been rescheduled for the following Saturday, Martin Forrester played his cruelest card. An anonymous dossier was delivered to all the main media outlets in the region, containing forged documents that proved Olivia had plagiarized recipes from other bakers to win the national contest. "This is absurd," Sharon exclaimed, reading the sensationalist article in the local newspaper. "How can they publish such blatant lies?" Olivia was sitting in the kitchen of the old bakery, watching the storm brewing outside. A perfect metaphor for what was happening in her life. Ryan paced back and forth, talking on the phone with lawyers and journalists, trying to contain the damage. "The documents are very well forged," he said after hanging up. "It will take time to prove they're fake, and the grand opening is tomorrow. Then we'll cancel," Olivia said with a calmness that surprised everyone. "It's not the first time I've had to start over." "No," Ryan protested. "We won't let him win again. Ryan, look around. People are already canceling. The social media trend has turned against me. Suppliers are scared again." Olivia stood up and went to the window. "Maybe it's time to accept that some battles can't be won." "Would your mother give up?" Ryan's question hit her like lightning. Olivia turned, her eyes shining with contained tears. "My mother died fighting. Then fight. But this time, not alone." It was then that Sharon, who had been quiet for a few minutes fiddling with her phone, looked up with a strange gleam in her eye. "Kids, you need to see this." On the phone screen, a video was playing. It was Brooke Graham, visibly intoxicated at some party, laughing and telling a group of friends how she had helped Martin prepare some surprises for Olivia. "That idiot baker doesn't even know what's coming," Brooke said in the video. "Martin has contacts everywhere, a phone call here, a document there, and boom, goodbye national celebrity." "Where did you get that?" Ryan asked. "A cousin of Brooke's sent it to me. She said she was tired of her own family's malice and wanted to help." Olivia felt renewed energy course through her body. This is the proof we needed. Not only that, Ryan said, already dialing another number. I know the district attorney who's handling the case. If we show this to him, along with all the testimonies we collected from the other business owners, we can prove that there's an organized scheme of extortion and defamation. While Ryan spoke with the authorities, Olivia made a decision that surprised even herself. She picked up her phone and called Megan from the TV network. Megan, it's me, Olivia. I need an urgent favor. Can you put me live on the evening news tonight? Olivia, with all this controversy, I don't know if that's a good idea. It's precisely because of the controversy that I need to speak. I have something important to reveal. 2 hours later, Olivia was live on television, calm and determined, her mother's necklace shining discreetly at her neck. I want to speak directly to the people who have followed my story, she said, looking fixedly at the camera. They are trying to destroy me in the same way they destroyed my mother 15 years ago. But this time, I will not die in silence. She showed Brooke's video, explained the scheme of harassment against local business owners, and revealed the documents that proved the accusations were forged. I'm not asking you to believe me out of pity or sympathy, she continued. I'm asking you to believe the truth, and to help me protect, not just my bakery, but all the small dreams that are being trampled by powerful people who think they can control our lives. The impact was immediate. The interview video went viral in a few hours, being shared thousands of times. Hashtags like Truth for Olivia and Against Extortion began to trend nationally. More importantly, other victims of similar schemes in different cities began to come forward, turning Olivia's case into a symbol of resistance much larger. My goodness, Sharon said, watching social media explode with support. You've become a national movement. Ryan approached Olivia, who was still processing the magnitude of what had happened. How do you feel? He asked. Scared, she admitted, but also powerful. For the first time in my life, I feel like I can really make a difference. You can, and you will. That night, as they planned the final details for the grand opening the next day, Olivia realized that something fundamental had changed within her. She was no longer the woman who ran from conflicts, nor the one who fought the world alone. She was someone who had found her voice and learned to use it not only to defend herself, but to defend others. But Martin Forrester, cornered and desperate, still had one last card to play. The Saturday of the grand opening dawned with a crystal-clear blue sky, as if nature itself were celebrating. Olivia woke early, not from anxiety as in recent days, but from a positive energy that made her feel more alive than ever. Good morning, Mom, she whispered, touching her necklace before getting out of bed. Today is our day. When she arrived at the new bakery at 7 in the morning, she found a line of volunteers organizing the final details. Sharon commanded the decoration, Ms. Betty arranged flowers everywhere, and Ryan coordinated the setup of the sound system with an efficiency that impressed her. How did you sleep? He asked, approaching with 2 cups of coffee. For the first time in weeks, I slept peacefully, she replied, accepting the drink. And you? Same. I guess the truth really does set you free. Around 9 o'clock, the first guests began to arrive. Not just Harmony Creek residents, but people from neighboring towns who had followed Olivia's story on television and social media. Olivia, we have a surprise for you, announced Megan Spencer from the TV network, who had arrived with a crew to cover the event. Through the bakery door entered 5 famous pastry chefs from different states across the United States, all carrying signs of support and genuine smiles. We came here to show that true talent recognizes true talent, said Chef Charles Bertrand, a renowned New York City chef, and to prove that our profession does not tolerate harassment against those with competence and character. Olivia could barely contain her emotion. It was surreal to see people she admired from afar offering unconditional support. At 10 o'clock, the official time of the grand opening, a crowd of over 300 people gathered in front of the bakery. Olivia climbed onto a small improvised platform, her heart pounding but her voice firm. A few weeks ago, I was just a baker in Harmony Creek trying to honor my mother's legacy, she began, her voice echoing through the sound system. Today I discovered that I am part of something much bigger, a community of people who believe that dreams cannot be destroyed by those with more money or power. Applause echoed through the crowd. This bakery is not just mine. It belongs to all of you who believed, who fought with me, who proved that the truth always wins. And it belongs to my mother, who even though she is no longer here, gave me the strength to never give up. Olivia took the necklace from her neck and held it up for everyone to see. This charm passed from my grandmother to my mother, and from her to me. It represents 4 generations of strong women who faced storms and emerged stronger. Today it protects not only me, but all of us who have decided not to bow down to injustice. It was then that something completely unexpected happened. From the crowd, a voice shouted, "Where's Martin now?" Another person replied, "He fled town last night." Ryan approached Olivia on the stage and held the microphone. "It's true," he confirmed. Martin Forrester left Harmony Creek in the early hours after the state police opened an investigation into the extortion scheme he coordinated. The investment firm that funded him is also under investigation. The crowd erupted in celebration. People hugged, cried with relief, shouted with joy. "But do you know what's even better?" Ryan continued. "All the properties he was trying to buy through blackmail are now protected by a bill that will be approved by the city council next week, preventing predatory real estate speculation in the historic district." Olivia looked at Ryan with admiration. "How did you manage that?" "It wasn't just me," he replied into the microphone for everyone to hear. "It was all the testimonies we collected, all the evidence we gathered, all of your mobilization that pressured the authorities to act." When they finally cut the ribbon at the grand opening, Olivia felt as if she was also cutting the chains that bound her to a past of pain and fear. The new Granny Mae's Sweets House of Hope bakery was spacious, bright, with an indoor garden where families could gather and a community library in a special corner. But what was most impressive was the energy of the place. It was impossible to enter without smiling. Aunt Olivia, a young woman who approached shyly in the middle of the afternoon, said, "I'm the girl who wrote to you from Charleston, SC, remember? I came by bus just to meet you." Olivia hugged her warmly. "And how was the trip?" "Long, but worth every mile. You gave me the courage to open my own craft shop. And you know what else? My first client was a woman who also saw your story on TV and decided to support small businesses. Stories like this were repeated throughout the day. People who had found courage, hope, and inspiration in Olivia's journey of overcoming. When the day came to an end and the last guests said goodbye, Olivia and Ryan stood alone in the bakery garden, watching the stars begin to appear in the sky. "We did it," she said, still barely believing it. "You did it," Ryan corrected. "I just had the privilege of being by the side of the bravest woman I've ever known." Olivia turned to him, and for the first time since the accident that had brought them together, she allowed herself to fully feel the love that had never truly disappeared. "Ryan, about us. About us, let's take it slow," he said, gently holding her hands. "We have all the time in the world to build something true." As he spoke, Olivia noticed that her mother's necklace was warm against her chest, but not in the urgent, anxious way it had been before. It was a comforting warmth, like an embrace approving her choices. 6 months after the grand opening, Granny Mae's Sweets, House of Hope, had become much more than a commercial establishment. It was the beating heart of a community that had rediscovered its strength. "Aunt Olivia, can I help decorate the cupcakes?" Sophia, a 7-year-old girl with curious eyes and a bright smile, asked. "Of course, my love," Olivia replied, lifting the child to reach the counter. "But be careful with the sprinkles, or it'll be too sweet." Sophia had come into their lives 3 months ago. Through the adoption process, Olivia and Ryan started together. Orphaned since she was 5, she brought unexpected joy to the bakery's routine. "Is Ryan here?" Sharon asked, entering with fresh ingredients. "He's in the garden playing hide-and-seek with Sophia," Olivia replied, smiling as she heard laughter echoing through the space. The relationship between Olivia and Ryan evolved naturally, without haste, built on mutual trust and shared purposes. They were life partners and, now, parents to a girl who brought new light to both of them. "Aunt Olivia, look what Uncle Ryan taught me," Sophia cried, running with a small potted flower. "If I take good care of it, a red rose will grow." "How lovely. Let's put it by the window to get some sun." Ryan entered, his hair disheveled from playing and absolute contentment on his face. "How's the book?" he asked, kissing the top of Olivia's head. "The editor called today. Recipes of resilience?" The sweet story of overcoming will be released next month. And a baking school in Paris wants to translate it into French. Is Paris far? Sophia's eyes widened. Very far, dear. But don't worry, our home is here. During the afternoon, in the small community library created in a corner of the bakery, Ryan leafed through cookbooks. You know what I was thinking about? He said. That first morning in the shed, when you made the apple crumb cake. If someone told me it would change our lives, I wouldn't have believed them. Olivia touched her mother's necklace, which she now wore only on special occasions. My mother used to say that the best ingredients in life don't come in recipes. They come from the heart. I think I finally understand. What did she mean? That love, courage, and hope cannot be measured. But when you put it all together, the result always surprises. Ryan gently held her hands. Olivia Dawson, will you marry me? The question caught her off guard. Ryan had knelt holding a small velvet box. You don't have to answer now, he said, eyes gleaming. I just wanted you to know that I want to spend the rest of my life building dreams by your side, taking care of Sophia, proving that true love overcomes any storm. Tears of pure joy streamed down Olivia's face. Uncle Ryan, why is Aunt Olivia crying? Sophia asked at the door. Because sometimes we cry when we're very happy, Ryan replied. Then can I cry too? You can both cry, Olivia said, hugging Sophia and pulling Ryan close. Because the answer is yes. Of course it's yes. The ring was simple and delicate, with a stone that sparkled like stars. Do you know what this means? Olivia asked, hugging her two loves. What? They asked in unison. We're going to make the biggest wedding cake Harmony Creek has ever seen. Laughter filled the bakery, echoed through the garden, and seemed to reach the sky, where Olivia's mother surely smiled. 6 months later, at the wedding reception held in the bakery garden, Olivia wore her mother's necklace over her simple but elegant dress. During the vows, she took the charm from her neck and placed it on Sophia. This necklace represents 4 generations of strong women. Now you are part of that story, my love. As music played and guests danced under the stars, Olivia watched everything. Sharon overseeing the dessert distribution, Ryan teaching Sophia to waltz, friends celebrating not just a wedding, but a story of overcoming that inspired an entire community. The accident that almost took her life that rainy afternoon proved to be the first step on a journey that led her to discover her strength, find true love, and build a legacy of hope that transcended the walls of her bakery. Sometimes, Olivia thought as she danced with Ryan, fate leads us down the most winding paths to deliver exactly what our soul needs. The certainty that we are capable of transforming any storm into the sweetest of new beginnings. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and comment where you're watching from. This helps a lot to keep bringing stories like this to you.